Earnest money. Why is the escrow company asking me to send them my earnest money deposit? It's day one. Hey, I'm David Mercier. I'm a licensed realtor in the state of California, and this is a part of my Home Buying Journey 101 series where I'm breaking down all of the steps of buying a home from meeting with the agent to move-in day. Today, we're going to be talking about earnest money deposit. It is an item that's in the offer that that you make on a property, and it is a crucial step in the escrow process, home buying process. And so I'm going to break it all down because there's a lot of confusion around the amount of earnest money deposit, what it actually goes towards, and if you're able to get it back if something goes wrong. So all very important questions. Even seasoned home buyers ask questions about the safety of their earnest money. So we're going to break it all down. And if you have more questions, you can leave a comment or you can check out the blog post where I put a lot more details in it. So, when you're making an offer on a home, one of the items that you can fill into the contract is the amount of earnest money you're willing to fork up at the front end of the escrow process. Now, typically, this is a 1 to 3% of the purchase price, and you've got to keep in mind that this is part of your down payment on the home. So, whatever between you and the lender, you have come up with the amount that will be your down payment. If you're buying with a loan, and your earnest money is going to be subtracted from that when it comes time to pay your full down payment towards the end of the escrow process. If you want to review all of the items that go into a offer, I have a video at the beginning of the series of talking through all of the different fees and things that you can negotiate when you're buying a home. And the earnest money deposit is one of those. Generally, it's 1 to 3%, and this money communicates to the seller that you're serious about fulfilling all of your obligations in the contract to buy their home. Those are going to be like doing your inspections and removing that contingency and all of the items that are on your to-do list once you've finalized a purchase agreement with a seller. Most sellers won't let you start your investigations of the property, the inspections and what have you, until they've received this earnest money deposit because they just want to make sure that you're serious. Usually it's due within the first 3 business days of escrow being opened. Your agent is probably going to make sure that you are ready to send that money on day one so they can start the timeline because everything has deadlines in your purchase agreement, and you want to be able to get us the most information about the property, to have the most time to negotiate repairs if needed, and talk through anything that comes up that you're not expecting. And so getting that earnest money sent in as soon as possible is the best way to go. Think about it like a reservation fee to show that you're very serious about going through with everything. Now, almost everyone I've worked with asks, how safe is that money? Can I get it back if we cancel escrow? And the answer for that is it is super safe. That is why we use escrow companies. They're a neutral third party in the process of buying a home. And their job is to make sure both sides of the transaction are following all of the rules that they've agreed to in the contract. So they get a copy of the purchase agreement, the offer when you open escrow, and if any changes are made, the agents have to send them an addendum, which becomes part of that contract, and they're going to make sure everything is followed thoroughly and legally. So um, the purchase agreement, the contract, which we've talked about, it protects buyers at every step of the way, and it is very hard to not get your earnest money deposit back if you need to cancel escrow for one of the reasons that are outlined in the contract. For example, say you're doing the inspections and the list of things that need to be repaired are way more than you or even the seller was aware of. Like, for example, let's just say some big things like the roof is leaking, the HVAC system is dead, and the foundation has a bunch of cracks in it. So you're talking about some big ticket items that now the seller is saying, well, let's just sell the house as is. And you're saying, I don't want to take that on. I thought, this is a move-in ready home, and it's not. So you're at an impasse and you want to cancel the contract. Well, because if you do it within the timeline of the inspection period, then you're entitled to your money back. Most of the time, the only reason why you wouldn't get your money back is if you've removed all of your contingencies, you're further along in the process, and you decide you just simply don't want to buy the house. But even then, you'd probably get most of it back. The seller's obligation would be to show that they've had actual damages and they're entitled to some or all of that money. But that's why we have a lot of contingencies in the contract, and you shouldn't stress too much about the money that's sitting there in escrow. And don't forget that the earnest money deposit is a part of your down payment. It goes towards your down payment. So at the end of escrow, towards the end of escrow, they're going to take the agreed upon down payment. um, they're going to add or subtract any of the amendments that you've added. Like, for example, if a seller said they'll give you 5 grand for repairs, then they're going to put that in there. And then they're going to subtract the earnest money deposit and they'll let you know the total balance that you owe for the transaction. Now, before you wire anything to escrow, you should always double check with the escrow company or your agent or both that it's the right time to do that, just to avoid any sort of fraud that's out there. It's rare, but it does happen. And you are going to be receiving a lot of communication from everybody involved. It should mostly come through your agent, but sometimes the escrow company will call the buyer directly to say, we're emailing you secured email that you can get the wiring instructions through. And if you haven't talked to your agent, I would always call or text and say, hey, I got this email from escrow. Were you expecting me to receive it? Should I wire the money? And your agent will tell you, like, go ahead, or like, let me verify with the escrow company just to be safe. Make a quick phone call and let you know to wire the money. It's not a burden. You shouldn't feel like you're bothering people. You're going to have to talk on the phone or text with a handful of people during the process of buying a home, and it can save you thousands of dollars. If you accidentally wire something to an unknown bank account, there's very little chance that you'll get that money back. So you do want to make sure that the um, money that you wire is done properly. So your key takeaways are: earnest money is part of the process. Almost everybody incorporates it into their purchase agreement. It is safe and secure. There is a very slim chance that you would lose that money if you walked away from purchasing the home. You need to be careful when you're wiring the money, and at any step of the way, you should always talk to your agent if you have questions or concerns about anything. So I hope that's helpful. Make sure you subscribe so you get the next video in my home buying series, and go back and look at the ones you missed.